This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell Beck and Randy Blake.
That's right. Good morning, Randy.
Morning, Terry.
Happy Saturday, man.
Happy Saturday to you and everybody out there.
That's right. He's live in the studio. They kicked him out of the Rock and Roll Kitchen this week. And, he didn't bring me any bacon either.
Well, he didn't ask me till I got here.
Oh. But that's right. All About Home Construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there, both on the podcast and on the air. And, so you had a good turnout last week at the VFW for the breakfast.
Yes, we did. And we actually had two veterans that came in that listened to the radio show.
And we appreciate that, Thank you so much for listening to the show.
And, one thing, the VFW does take flags for disposal.
Yes.
So keep that in mind.
That's good. I know we've talked about that a couple years ago, but that's one of those things that people just don't you don't think about where to get rid of them anymore, just properly. And when your flag gets destroyed, and it's you put it out in the wind and rain, and eventually it's going to get faded or it's going to get ripped. And there's a proper way to retire those flags, and so that's good to know that the VFW is still doing that and has connections.
The Boy Scouts do it once a year.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I know in the past a lot of the Boy Scouts used to do it, but it's just like everything else. It's hard to sometimes to get in touch with the right people. So
yeah, we actually had a veteran that came and ate breakfast. I mean, I've seen him before, and he said, "Thank you for being on the radio." Because one guy kept trying to talk to me and didn't realize I was on the radio. And can you not hear me, Randy? And I'm going, well, I'm actually on the radio.
I'm a little busy.
And but one of the veterans that came in the next day, that afternoon, I guess, he came in and said, "Would you care to take these flags in for me? I'm headed back to Florida. I'll see you in the spring."
Nice.
So... Okay. So think about that. If you got a flag to retire, they open Monday through Thursday from 3 o'clock.
That's cool.
To 9 or 10, just depends on how it is. On Friday and Saturdays and Sundays at 1 o'clock.
Nice.
So
just drop them off, huh?
Yeah, and they'll be disposed of proper. And the Boy Scouts do it. And
now, have you ever been part of one of those ceremonies?
I've actually been around it when it's happening. And
it's been ages for me, but there's a whole ceremony for it. It's not just
it is a symbol of our country,
right? Well, that's it. And I think sometimes that's something we don't think about. What to properly do with those. So,
well, just take them on by.
There you go.
And because that's who we are.
Mm-hmm. Love it. So, well, cool. Well, give us a call today, 282-62-1567, All About Home Construction at gmail.com, by the way. Don't forget the Facebook page, All About Home Construction. We're always getting people to reach out and ask us questions and stuff, so by all means, get your questions in. So.
Yep, and I'd like to say, next Saturday, we're having barbecue and brisket.
Ooh, I love a good brisket.
From 2 to 7.
Love a good brisket.
$15 a plate.
So
with sides.
My thing is with barbecue and brisket is a lot of times you go, when you go places, you get the choice of barbecue or brisket. And I like barbecue better than I like brisket, so I never get a brisket. But I like a good brisket.
Well, I do too. And but this is individual, barbecue or brisket, We try to be conservative about what we order.
Love it.
And then for all you out there that don't have a place to go, remember, Dave Faulkner does Thanksgiving for free.
Coming up. It's just around the corner if you think about it.
And
not much more than a month away.
So in the month of December, I'll be standing down too. So that gives me 3 months.
Nice.
And the Scots will be cooking Christmas this year.
That's cool.
So,
well, we can't wait for that. And then you just in time to ramp back up maybe for a Valentine's dinner again.
Well, we always do that, but we're actually in January. We've not worked it out yet, but, one of the biggest things we've had is the fish, I know you don't like it. Get over it. But fish and chips, we always get at, when you going to do it again?
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're going to do something.
I'm in the minority, I know.
We're going to do something with seafood, I think, in January,
All
right
right.
now at this time.
That's good. That's good.
But, you're also talking to Terry that likes his meat well done. So,
Hey, you know what? That's the way it rolls, man.
you know what like to kill me? When we served our last 32-ounce ribeye, not the last dinner,
Yeah.
but the dinner before, I got one order for well done.
Look, it's
Now,
the way it should be.
How do you cook a 2-inch steak well done? Now, if they'd have told me 2 hours before it, yes, I will do it.
Randy's still cooking that.
And, you would not believe how many people, hundreds of people over the years that have ordered well done. And I said, can I do a test with you? And they go, yeah. I said, I'm going to blindfold you and I'm going to let you taste 4 different cooked meat. And you wouldn't believe how many people that eat well done have converted into eating rare, which rare is around 125.
Well done, man. I don't like it more. I like it cooked. I don't.
Well, it's already dead, Terry.
No. Thanks for listening to us. Let's take a break, and we come back. We'll get it all about home construction. Obviously, by listening to this podcast, you see the value of All About Home Construction. Well, by joining our listener supporter community, you're not just tuning in, you're standing with us as we are able to support and fuel our passions of the construction industry. As a listener supporter, you'll enjoy exclusive perks, including hearing your name, or maybe even your business name, on our show. So please go to our Spotify website. The link will be in the show notes, and join. You can join for as little as $1 one-time fee, $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you think you can afford. Every single penny helps to keep this show going as we can continue to grow and do lots more things. Thanks a lot. And again, more importantly, thank you for listening to this. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. Again, thanks for listening. Give us a call, 828-262-1567, and we'll put you right on the air. And so before we get into the rest of the show, Randy, I do have a question for you.
Yep.
And it's that time of year, it's fall, essentially. It's cool and breezy. We may see some flurries in the next couple days, possibly.
Believe it or not, they're calling for flurries on Sunday night.
It's possible.
AccuWeather was.
So...
And Channel 10 in Charlotte was calling for possible snow flurries.
So my question to you is, we got is, so many people close up their crawl space.
Yep.
What's your thoughts? I mean, I know obviously if it's open at this point, you got to close it; it'll freeze. What's your thoughts on venting the crawl space though to begin with, like in the spring? This is more of a spring question, I guess.
Well, code still calls for vents.
Okay.
All right, and if you have a closed crawl space, you're not required to put vents in. But see, codes have also changed since then. We had Pete Burtis on, quite a few years ago, and he said, "Randy, you were ahead of the curve 5 years before I even went into business.
Right.
Didn't know what to do with it. Rubbed my nose in it."
Yeah.
And but the whole idea of me doing the closed crawl space is making sure that my plastic was down better. Mm-hmm. All right. We made sure it was glued around the foundation. We made sure it was glued around the block. We only had one vent in the house. And with that one vent, I put a solar vent in. So when the sun come out, it would open up. It would
open, right.
Okay. But what we did was we turned around and put a hydrometer on it, or hydro switch, humidity switch. So when the humidity in the basement and the crawl space got high, it turned on so it evacuated the moisture. Yeah, okay. But the whole idea I was after was at that time, a lot of furnaces was in the crawl space.
Yep.
And they were only about 60% efficient. Yeah. So that means they were leaking 40% of their heat.
So why not use that, trap that heat?
Yeah, and so I was trying to capture the 57-degree temperature from the ground in the crawl space. and then capturing the heat loss to save it to heat the house.
Yep. It's pretty sweet.
And since then, it all got started, which, both my sons and my daughter work for Tar Heel.
Mm-hmm.
And my son-in-law still does. It's a great product. I truly believe in it. It's a healthier house for you. Yes, it is expensive, and it's the reason. One of the things that have changed is that was a new product that came in, and yes, it was more expensive than normal. But then when the state gets involved in the codes, and what I mean by that is the state gets involved with it because they want a healthy house.
Right.
Okay. And they started adopting the energy codes better. Like our energy codes here in North Carolina are 5 times more stricter than they are in Oklahoma.
Sure.
Or just our codes alone, because like I told you on the past shows, that's where my boys are now, is I got to go out and look through the houses being constructed in Oklahoma.
Big difference, yeah.
And I can truly tell you they blow down because of their codes aren't as stringent as ours.
Right.
And I'm going to probably chap some people on this. That's the reason you cannot build affordable housing in North Carolina.
Right. Just too many requirements. You got to do too many things to it.
Yes. And we're on a remodel right now that I guarantee you a homeowner built. And it's a pretty big house. Mm-hmm. It's a 40 by 40 square, 3 stories tall.
Nice.
3.5 or 2.5. And we're remodeling it, and it's costing the homeowner today to remodel it twice as much as it would if it had been built by a contractor.
You're going back and fixing things
that they did not even. Yeah. I don't even know how the code, how the house was built with what they did.
Really?
I'm talking about the heating system. They jury rigged it. They put a thermal switch on the air conditioning unit, so if they turned it too low and it overheated, it'd shut off automatically so it wouldn't burn it up.
Okay.
Never heard of that.
Huh.
And till the heating and air guy told me. So they took a unit that was made to only heat the first floor, okay, which the second floor there's no ductwork at all.
Okay.
And or I should say the loft. And then they turned around after inspection and cut holes in the ductwork to heat the downstairs basement. So, see, this furnace was doing double duty. And it probably didn't hurt it in the wintertime, but here you go. It's a bare block foundation with no insulation on the walls. So
it was just sucking it out.
It was just,
Oh, man.
And they cut corners on the block. They used blackboard instead of a foundation seal. So over the years, the blackboard rotted out.
It's gone away, and we're getting water in.
Yeah, we was watching water run right up from underneath the slab from the holes in the block I was telling you about.
Yep.
And so this house just everybody out there that says we don't like contractors because they make too much money,
this is why.
Shame on you, because you're going to cost the next person down the road twice as much money as you saved.
Yep, that's it. All right. Well, the whole point, I guess, is to close up your crawl space. If you got them vented open in the spring, in the summer, it's probably a good time to
you can close your crawl space up with blue board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only thing I dislike about blue board is that blue board will draw insects to it.
Yep.
And ants and termites will auger through it to get into your house.
Will they auger through it in the middle of winter, though?
Oh, yeah, because they can use it as a channel. Okay?
I'm with you. Okay.
Because, all right, if you've captured your 57 degrees temperature in your basement or in your crawl space,
that's kind of comfy.
They can live in that.
Kind of comfy, I guess. That's right. All right. Well, good stuff. Good stuff. Should we get on with the rest of the show?
Yeah. I wanted to tell y'all that they found a wooden structure, and it was in Africa, and these are and it's breaking all the rules for wooden structures.
This is crazy.
And they've estimated the age at 476,000 years ago.
That's crazy.
And in Zambia, And the reason they know it's a structure because it had notches in it, and they had wooden wedges beside it, and they had digging sticks, and so everything, the two pieces are joined together. So just think about our history as humans,
Well,
476,000 years ago.
You know, when you think about it, very primitive, right? Like, we have to have a place to live. And I mean, you need shelter. Like that's
Correct.
Even animals need shelter, right? And so it doesn't. I mean, it's not far fetched to think that we would just create our own shelters, and that's essentially what we did when we started building. But it's just, I don't know. To me, it's kind of cool because we talk so much on the show about building and I mean today like we were just talking about how to make a heater more efficient by capturing 57 degree temperatures and so but when it comes down to it, the basics is it's still a shelter and it's comfort, right? And our level of comfort because of technology has changed, but primitively, we still have that same level of comfort. We want that same level of comfort, whatever that that thresholds change. But so yeah, I mean, it makes total sense that somebody along the lines was looking at it, and saw some wood and was like, "Forget this, I'm going to build a shelter."
Well, they also say some of the wood on this could have been a possible foundation.
See, and that's like a platform. I mean, you think about it, like it's just, I mean, it's pretty cool. I think it's great, and it makes total sense to me because you see that with cultures and civilizations all throughout the world, right? I mean, you think about the Native American culture prior to the pre-Columbian American cultures and the way they were building things and living, and people we watch TV shows, we watch westerns, and we think of the the teepees and stuff, but. Most Native Americans didn't have teepees. They didn't live in teepees.
Matter of fact, a lot of them had bark skin houses.
Yeah, and that's it. And here in the southeast, in the eastern coast especially, the long houses that are made out of, like you said, they're wooden structures, and you see that, but then you see that in China, you see that in Europe, and it's just it's almost like part of human nature, I think, to build with.
Well, when I was in Europe, I seen a lot of what I thought was straw roofs. Mm-hmm. It's actually not straw roofs. It's actually swamp grass.
The thatch, right?
And and actually on Facebook, there's a guy I'm friends with. Well, we're friends, but I don't talk to him. But I look at his posts and stuff, and he shows how they do it today.
It's cool.
But he also, some of the roofs he's taking off and replacing now are 200 years old.
Wow, and they don't rot?
Well, that's the reason they're having to take them.
But they're 200 years old?
But they're actually about a foot deep.
Okay.
So, see, it takes forever for the water to get through, and with the reeds and stuff, they'll dry out a little faster, about like our cedar shakes. If we put our cedar shakes on right, cedar shakes will last 50, 60 years.
Right.
The way we have to put them on North Carolina, the average lifespan is 20, 25.
Because we don't let them. We don't let them do what they're supposed to do.
They can't breathe.
Yeah.
And but people, just like you said, have taken things like the reeds and stuff and made roofs out of them that didn't leak.
Yep.
American Indians using bark.
Right. Well, that's.
And we're not as tough as them people was 200 years ago.
Well, don't get me started on that. I mean, could you imagine even a day like today, right? It's 44 degrees outside, and we're at 50 whatever 2 now, right?
Well, I had my coat on at 44.
But I was getting ready to say, like, we walked in with a jacket on this morning.
Yeah.
Wasn't that long ago, and even generations back, there wasn't that many generations back when 52 degrees, they probably would laugh at us for wearing a jacket, in the middle of the night. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it gets cold in the middle of the night.
Well, I never remember my uncles when I was little. The only thing they had on was their cotton pants.
Yeah.
When they'd go to the barn and it'd be 2 foot of snow on the ground. They didn't have no insulated underwear or anything like that. And they look at me, what's wrong with you, boy? You cold?
Yep. Yeah, people are tough, man. But I still think people are drawn to wood. That's my.
Well,
opinion.
wood's always going to be a building product. It's a renewable product. You know, I built 2 steel homes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because steel was a renewable product.
Right.
Then it got expensive, and that's the reason. You know, the housing crunch.
Yep.
Actually, 2006-07 killed steel.
Yep.
I'd rather build a house out of steel.
Well, I get it, but while you'd rather build a house out of steel, I bet you got nice hickory cabinets.
Hickory.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's like so much. When we get into this, like sort of the modern look, if you will, when you know, building and trends and stuff, and you know the paints this and metal this, plastic that, surfaces.
Well, now
you can't go wrong though with a nice wooden kitchen table.
But what we did is we evolved from 2000 when we started the first steel house to 2002. Because we did what everybody else did when the first steel house was. We made all the window openings, larger door openings, so we could put 2x4s in.
Right.
So now that we can put the doors and window trim in, and it was easier.
Yeah.
But in the next house, I had all the guns that I could shoot the wooden trim directly to the steel. And screw guns. Pam came out with a screw gun that would screw the screws directly to the steel floor joists.
Right.
Extremely strong house, and you're talking about a house that was straight.
Sure.
You know, you can build it just as straight as an arrow as long as you want to do, as long as you can pull the string that far.
Well, I mean, like I said, I totally get where you're coming from with different, but I still think there's something in our DNA that brings us back to wanting to be like wood, you know, to seeing wood.
I agree, because I tell you what, I belong to another group of people on Facebook that has some unreal stair art, and it's all art. Like the handrail comes down, and it's all a curved stairway, and at the end of the stairway is a lion's head.
Yeah.
And it blends in with its claws and everything.
One of my favorite, and this was like floor of the year, I don't know, it was probably a decade ago, and it was like this walnut, but it was you know how some walnuts have a lot of color into them. You know, you got the white mixed into like the swirls, and but this flooring, it was wide plank flooring, but it looked like the same board went straight up the staircase.
Yep,
like they had matched the
floors
the
and
grain.
all.
Yeah, and and it's like it's just, to me that's just the coolest thing. I love it.
You know, I got to meet a man in the 80s that made the cabinets for like the Capitol building, buildings like that. And I actually worked for his brother.
Neat.
But the woodworking that he was doing he was matching board on board, end grain on end grain, so everything looked like all the doors and all the trim and
one
stuff
piece essentially
was all matched all the way across, and that just blowed my mind. I mean, I grew up helping build cabinets and stuff my whole life, and but just to be able to take the time with different species and get them to blend together and make them look as one.
Oh yeah. It's crazy, and I think it's easier. You know, when we had tighter, slower growth wood, it's probably a little bit easier matching the grains. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it's the coolest. And then, of course, like obviously, I'm a wood guy. I think, you know, so many times, and I didn't mean to go down this rabbit hole today, but so many times, you know, it's like mixing species of wood. A lot of people don't do it, and I get it. But to me, it's like, if you do it right, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like to me, certain woods look good together. You give me a piece of cherry, a piece of walnut, and a piece of maple, and I think those are the 3 most beautiful pieces of wood you can put together.
Well,
if you do it right, you know.
In the early '90s, we built cabinets for the old Cannon Memorial Hospital. Mm-hmm. We got to build them in place. And commercial cabinets, you know, you have to edge band them and everything, in which I grew up edge banding. Most people didn't know how to do that. My wife cussed me for ruining her iron. I had to go buy her an iron. But all the fronts of all my cabinets, all the doors matched with the grain, because I took one sheet and cut it out and made sure that all the design of the birch veneer matched on every chest of drawer, or the drawers that I did, all matched all through it.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool. All right. Well, let's take another break, and we'll come right back right after this. Thanks for listening to us. Obviously, by listening to this podcast, you see the value of All About Home Construction. Well, by joining our listener supporter community, you're not just tuning in, you're standing with us as we are able to support and fuel our passions of the construction industry. As a listener supporter, you'll enjoy exclusive perks, including hearing your name, or maybe even your business name, on our show. So please go to our Spotify website. The link will be in the show notes, and join. You can join for as little as $1 one-time fee, $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever you think you can afford. Every single penny helps to keep this show going as we can continue to grow and do lots more things. Thanks a lot. And again, more importantly, thank you for listening to this. That's right. All About Home Construction here on WATA. And again, thanks to all of our listeners out there. So, I know we went down a couple fun rabbit holes this morning, which is part of what we always do, but that's okay. But getting back into the actual show this morning, and one of the things, Randy, that we've talked about, and not too long ago, is how, again, with code changes and the state changes requirements for this and that. But one of the things that we have to that's changed recently is when it comes to making plans of a house.
Correct. First off, we get the same call every couple of weeks. How much does a house cost?
Right.
Okay. Can you tell me? Because people are, that's normal,
Sure.
What they want. But legally, as a contractor, we can't price your house out without a set of plans. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I know we've talked about this before. Well, I can buy a set of plans for $350 offline.
Right.
Correct. You can. All right. But the point of it is, does it match our wind loads? Mm-hmm. So when you buy a set of plans, ask them, will you design this house? Because first off, you need to know what your altitude of your house is.
Right.
All right. Like here in Boone now, we are at 130 mile an hour wind load. Okay. I have a lot of people ask me the question, if I go to Lowe's and buy a door, can you put it in? Legally, I cannot put it in
Right.
because it does not meet the wind load.
Right.
Okay. And because as a licensed entity, I have to follow the guidelines that's set forth for me. So if you buy a set of plans, like I said, ask them to design it for a wind load for where your house is going.
Right.
And you'll find out that the cost is going to increase more.
Well, I mean, right. That's why it's so, I guess, important. I mean, we talk so much about local here on the radio show, but it's not to say that someone in Tennessee or someone off the mountain in North Carolina doesn't build a good house. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that people here know how to build in the high country. And I think it's the same when you're talking about, making house plans. And yeah, anybody that's got AutoCAD or wants to play around with it. I mean, I was making floor plans for houses when I was a teenager. But that's not the same as knowing what the codes are, and not only knowing what the codes are, right? The codes are the bare minimum. We talk about this all the time. It's, we want a house that's going to last. And now, this day and age, we want a house that's efficient. And so the more and more that, those variables that you put into it, the more that you got to make a plan for.
Correct. And, but it helps a lot planned it out. And, they've raised the limitations on work that can be done without a permit. And the state's recognizing it because you got roofs that are getting up to $40,000,
Yeah, right.
Especially cedar shake roofs in the clubs and stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, a sub can work under a contractor when he redoes these roofs, okay?
Right.
But if he does a roof on his own and it exceeds $40,000, he has to have a roofer's license.
Okay.
Or a contractor's license. Okay?
Gotcha.
And same thing with graders. There's a grading license out there because if you got a guy going to build a road that's going to be 5 miles long,
right,
it's over $40,000. It used to be $30,000.
Okay.
Then he's not licensed to build that road because it's going to exceed the limit.
Right.
And so even most people don't think about this, but to build a long road, you need a surveyor to come in and stake the road out.
Right.
Because of grades and stuff like that. So, and that's the reason I'm saying about house plans are not this last year in class, but the class before, we actually had a guy from North Carolina that represents the home builders give us a class. And in Buncombe County, you're required to have a topo around your house. Okay? And we've never had a topo around here, but with a topo design, which, you have to hire a surveyor to do a topo, it actually helps us decipher this house setting and the layout.
So that what you're doing there is you're trying to see, okay, where's the water going to run to or from?
Correct, because, in 2006, we were building a house, and we had one place to put the road in, but the road, it rained so much that year that we had a lot of runoff. We even put bales of hay in, which we got reported to the state because the water overrun our bales of hay and went into a guy's driveway.
Right.
Which I seen it. I didn't ask no questions. We removed the dirt. I didn't even ask permission to remove the dirt. I just went ahead and did
Cleaned it right.
And we went ahead and re-graveled his driveway, and he still turned me into the state.
Right.
Well, the state come out and looked at it and everything and said, well, he's done everything he's required to do.
Right.
All right? But a lot of these subdivisions aren't designed, these older subdivisions aren't designed for runoff.
Right.
They just put a road anywhere.
Yep.
All right?
Well, and that goes back to, well, I mean, you think about it, back when we were living off the land, we were more agriculture based, like, these old farms, like the old farm roads and stuff, they knew where the water was running because they were farming the land, and so I think I get that. Like today, it's just, this is where I want my house, and now I got to get to it. Whereas in the past, we had the luxury of picking and choosing. I guess is where I'm trying to go with where we put our houses.
Correct, and but it's also like going up Valley Mountain. It's almost like they chased a snake up there to build the road. Okay, because they built it. Yeah. They built it up to a certain grade, which I have to commend. That was a great uncle of mine that built that with steam shovels and mules.
Neat.
And he was a Yates.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, that's the thing. When we talk about house plans, I mean, think about this. If I'm going to go on vacation next week, I'm gonna research it, right? I'm gonna pick where I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna put it in my phone and figure out how to get there. Put it in a map. I'm gonna come up with a plan.
Correct.
But so many times when it comes to houses, I think we think we have a plan, but we still get too many of these. And I know people don't have magazines like they used to, but you still get too many of these. This is the picture. This is what I want. Well, how do you get there?
Well, first off, if you got a picture that you want, you have two choices. You have a designer or you have an architect.
Right.
Which now they've put restrictions on designers of a dollar amount. Mm-hmm. So that leaves you an architect, which an engineer realistically draws engineering plans, not whole houses. But they have drawn them, and we've worked with an engineer quite a bit that's done a lot of drawings for us on houses.
Right.
Because of what it is, what the location is, and things like that. And yes, that costs money, but that's a guarantee that guy draws that house is going to withstand what the state requirements are. And so it's important, but we cannot guess a cost of a house off a picture.
Sure.
Now, I had a situation here a while back. Well, how much you think it's going to cost to remodel my house? What are you going to do to your house? I'm going to add 3,000 foot to it.
Right.
So poof, it magically appears in front of my face. But is it what you want?
Right.
And,
well, I mean, and we can beat a dead horse, but there's so many. Okay, because Randy may want to paint it. He may want to put wallpaper up. He may want to put, he may want to put tongue and groove on it. You may not. I'm with you.
So that's the reason. But we have to have a drawing to even bid on a project.
Now, so
A competent drawing.
right. When you're talking about planning as a contractor, I'm just curious if it means something different to you than it means for me, because, like, to me, I could say, well, yeah, I've got a plan. I want, and I have a checklist of I want this material, I want this look, I want this, but that's not really what you're talking about here. You're talking about a drawn out plan where this, this wall is going to use whatever 22x4s. Like, I guess my point is, like, what are you as a contractor when you say plan? What is it that you're talking about?
A set of drawings to scale.
Yeah.
It used to be you could get a drawing on a napkin and that would pass the state.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. But the point of it is, people don't know what they want. Mm-hmm. Remember we talked about their eyes being too big last Saturday?
Yep.
And now, I know a homeowner thinks about what they want done, but they don't think about the time it takes to estimate this house out.
Right.
Now, I do not have that $2,500 a month estimating program that you rent, okay? So, where I can punch in a wall and get an average on it. And, here a couple years ago, we were going to build a house for a lady that changed her mind every month on what she wanted on the interior of the house.
Right.
So here I am, and, after the fourth time of changing your house on the interior coverings and stuff, I just finally said, I'm not interested.
Right.
Because I value my time.
Yeah.
My time costs, everything I do with my pencil and paper is an hourly cost.
Yeah.
And
well, time is money, and
there is no such a thing as a free estimate,
right?
Okay, because estimates involve time.
Exactly. So
go to Charlotte and get an estimate, and you'll pay for it.
Right. Well, but if you've done your homework and you've got a real plan, it's a lot easier to get that estimate.
Well,
right?
the home builders has a pamphlet for homeowners to fill out, and it goes through it for room, bathrooms, and the whole 9 yards. What you want.
Nice. All right, we'll take a last break. We'll come right back right after this. Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies, such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. That's right, all about home construction here on WATA. Give us a call, 828-262-1567. Check out the Facebook page, All About Home Construction. Don't forget about the podcast, All About Home Construction as well. And before we wrap the show up, Randy, I do want to remind people next Saturday at the VFW,
Yep.
brisket or barbecue.
Yep, and we have several sides. And corn on the cob, potato salad, slaw, baked beans, did I say corn on the cob? Yeah, I did, didn't I? And
corn on the cob.
So we're going to offer you two different choices there, and a roll. Don't forget a roll.
Well, here's the question. Is Franklin going to help cook?
You know what? I hadn't talked to Franklin about this. And
so according to Franklin, they were the best pork tenderloins in the world that he made the other day.
You know why? He's a good student.
Well... he threw down the challenge to all of our listeners to get out there and try them. So,
and you know what? We made the cube steak ourselves.
All right.
We have to start with all USDA stuff, and but I cut it up and I taught him how to run it through the cuber, and he run it through 6 times, and he said, "Papa, I like this right here."
That's awesome.
And And then here we had Cotton come in. You know, Cotton's a greeter too. So
I love it.
I love my grandchildren, and I love that they love to cook.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, everyone that listened last week, he knew what he was talking about. I loved it.
Well, Troy was the same way about cooking, and Troy still cooks today.
Yeah. So,
but we'll have to see. And right now, we're going through the barbecue sauce competition.
Ooh.
You know, with the membership, and
so
what I've been doing is
I want to get in on one of these taste testings.
Well, okay,
that's what we need to do.
But you don't come by.
We need to have a live Facebook podcast of taste testing,
like Colin's dish, and Sharon's dish. Both dishes were excellent. We just picked the best one. Okay, and. All right, what it's leading down to is the Rock and Roll Kitchen is going to eventually phase out here in about 3 years ago, because I figured at 70s I think I'm old enough to quit. And,
you'll never quit cooking. It's all right.
Oh, I love to cook.
You'll be a part of it.
And but yes, Franklin, gets a kick out of it.
Love it.
And so, for listeners out there, Franklin's. I started Franklin cutting meat when he's 7-year-old.
Nice.
And I started out Cotton, now with a plastic knife. 1 month before he turned 3-year-old.
I remember having this conversation.
I got pictures of him skinning the silver skin off pork chops.
I remember hearing this or having this conversation.
And so I got him into it, and
that's it. We'll go check them out at VFW next week, next Saturday. Not the 14th, but today's the 14th. 7 days from now, 21st.
Yep. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was a situation that is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about plans, okay?
Right.
All right. Now, North Carolina, on their laws, they don't average nothing, okay? Code is a code.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a homeowner, you can call the North Carolina License Board Insurance side of it.
Right.
And they will tell you what the code is.
Okay.
And also you can get online, which the North Carolina Home Builders Association has it online, where you can look up specific parts in the code book.
But it's so cumbersome, right?
Well, you have to read it just like we did.
Well, I mean, I get that. But I guess my point is that's what makes a contractor different than me. I love doing homework, you know that, but it's just so cumbersome that it. But more importantly for me, it's like I don't really know the questions to ask or to look for.
Well, one of the things
I think that's
one of the things coming up here recently was about a retaining wall.
Right.
Okay. It used to be a retaining wall could be 5 foot out of the ground without being engineered.
Right.
All right. Now, if it went 5 foot 1 inch,
you had to be engineered.
Yeah, there is no give in it. Okay, and so the question was, do I need a new wall engineered? Yes. Well, it's only going to be 2 foot on this end, but it's going to be 8 foot on the other end.
But it exceeds that 5 foot.
4 foot now. Code has changed to 4, and so. Well, it only averages 4 foot on the whole wall. Averaging does not work when it comes to a retaining wall.
Yeah.
Okay? And to give you an idea, if you go to Walmart and you see the light poles there on those concrete columns. Now, I don't know how far in the ground those concrete columns go, but when I did Gino's Restaurant, we had a 2 foot column that was 2 foot out of the ground and 6 foot underground to hold the wind load for that fiber.
Right.
For that light post was so light that one guy could carry the whole light post. But the point of it is,
you had to have that much
with a wind load. That's the reason we had to put so much concrete in the ground, concrete and steel. So with a retaining wall, it depends on, do you have traffic above, or do you have traffic below?
Well, and I mean, retaining walls are probably. I mean, you see a retaining wall and you think back your old, Lincoln Logs and Lego days, and you're just stacking things up and it holds it back. But there's a lot of science that goes into it. Well, I mean, you got to have some kind of foundation to keep it from sinking, but you've also got to have something to keep, because the whole point is just keeping earth back, right?
Well, see, we've talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
There you go. How much gravel do you put behind that retaining wall to keep the water out?
And then, and then it's hydraulic pressure. I mean, when the ground gets wet, when dirt gets wet, it gets heavy and it moves. And those are two bad things. And so yeah, I mean, so I guess that's the things. But when, going back to the plans is you need to have an actual plan drawn up before I could even say, Randy, this is what I want to do.
We bid on a job in Blowing Rock a couple years ago, where one of the old Blowing Rock houses, and they had the wooden deck that they parked on. Okay, well, the house the house was built in the 50s. Well, the house was starting to lean 2 degrees to the rear because of the weight of the parking deck.
Starting to settle, yeah.
Okay, so the house could not be pulled back, but the house could be supported so it couldn't move anymore.
Okay.
All right. Now, this house was built on shale rock, and there was no footer on it, and the footer was mortar and rock before they started the block. And so we had to have an engineered drawing to support this parking deck that was going to be made out of concrete. And, well, to make a long story short, it was right at $300,000 to build it.
Yeah.
Because it took an 18-inch two 18-inch retaining walls, dead men back into the stone behind it, underneath the road, to keep that parking deck for putting any pressure, because it had to be freestanding away from the house.
Yeah.
And
but that's the cool science behind it. That's the cool nerdy stuff. But that's why you have engineers and designers. But the trick is, as a general contractor, you're not a designer. You're not an engineer.
Correct. That's right. That's the reason they have people that do that. To give you another indication that you've never thought about, was you pull up to a stoplight, okay, and you touch your brakes, and just as the second before you totally stop, you feel your car move forward and come back.
Yep.
That is a pressure that is exerted on the ground underneath your wheels. So if you were to that is a pressure that would be on that retaining wall if you parked on top of it.
Right.
Okay.
You're pushing, yeah.
So that's a mathematical equation that people don't even think about.
Wild. Retaining walls, man, are like I said, I mean, they look so simple, because we all played toys and built stuff, but there's a lot of science behind it.
So always ask the right people about things before you come to a contractor and want him to price your house.
That's it. Well, and a good contractor like you've got the connections, so you definitely. I guess my point is, like, you can talk to a contractor, but just know that that's the first step, is the planning.
That's it.
And it's more than, like you said, it's more than just drawing a square on the napkin.
It is. So. And so just do your planning, and just remember one thing. This is North Carolina. This is not Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Virginia.
Yep. Every state makes a difference, and you got to worry about the state you're in. And it doesn't matter what you could do or couldn't do. It's all about what your area, what your state requires. So, all right, man. Good stuff. Fun stuff. Don't forget the dinner next week. And until then, man, stay warm and stay. Don't blow away, Randy. That's going to be one of those windy weeks.
I bet the Scots don't wear their kilts next Saturday.
All right, everybody, take it easy. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast all about home construction. Our show airs live on WATA Radio in Boone, North Carolina every Saturday morning. Check out our Facebook page, All About Home Construction. Leave your tips and comments there. Also, subscribe, like, and share this with a friend.